Hi Eddie, can we just start with another thought on your line at Manchester United? I know you were quite pleased with some of the things that you did, but after the match you expressed disappointment with the way the goals were conceded.
Yeah, I still feel the same way. Left the game frustrated, woke up frustrated, watched the game back and was frustrated because I just felt we could have won the game, we could have delivered better. And in the big moments, we just didn't get those details right.
You're seventh in the table going into the final match, level on points with Manchester United. Chelsea are 3 points ahead of you. How do you see the situation? Because you could end up in one of three positions depending on what happens.
Yeah, it's a big last day for us. There's no denying that. I think we go into the game against Brentford knowing we have to do our part, which is try and win the game. That's no mean feat. That's going to be a tough game for us. And then we're in the hands of other clubs. So the players are determined to finish on a high. I think it's the last couple of games have been difficult for us. I think we could have got more, we didn't, and that's left us in a position where we're, as I say, looking at other results.
You also got the situation where you could be waiting on the outcome of the FA Cup final later this month as well. It's maybe not ideal, but if it gives you a chance of getting into Europe, I guess you take that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, no, we'd take that. It's not ideal, as you say. It's not what you want to be doing. But if it meant us qualifying for Europe, we'd take any route possible. So, yeah, let's just try and concentrate on the last game and on our own performance and finishing the season as well as we can.
Brentford are quite low down the table, but they've got a big gap between them and the relegation places, so they haven't done as well as they did last year when I think they ended ninth in the standings. But what do you make of them and what are you expecting from them as your opponents?
Well, I think whenever you play Brentford, you know it's going to be a difficult game. Thomas has done a very good job. He's had to navigate a difficult season when you consider the suspension to Tony, and we're experiencing that ourselves, and that's never an easy thing to go through. I think they're always tough opponents physically, very strong team, very good from set plays. They've got some dangerous players as well, so coming into some good form at the back end of the season, we know that we're going to have to be our best.
You haven't had Callum Wilson available for the last two matches. Is he going to be back on Sunday?
Yeah, we anticipate he will be fit.
Just a couple more things from me. Brentford is your focus, but after that you've got to go straight off to Australia, haven't you? Can you just give us an idea of your schedule post Brentford and how that's all going to work?
I just think it's finished the game and I think we're straight on a plane. So very quick turnaround, but we're not focusing on that currently. We're focusing on this game, and that has to take every ounce of our attention.
I just want to ask you finally, you have then got the summer break after the Australia trip. Do you know when you're going to be back for pre-season? When will training start for next year? Yeah,
training will start early July. The planning of that's sort of in the mix. We're still finalising our last few Premier League pre-season games, I think. So certainly a lot of energy going into that behind the scenes.
Thank you. Thanks, Fraser.
Hi Eddie. Got an excellent recent record against Brentford. You've already touched on the challenges that you're expecting on Sunday, and it's a chance as well to put right this away form which you touched on Wednesday as well. It's become a little bit of a concern perhaps.
Yeah, I think all season I don't think we've been brilliant on the road. I think we've had highlights, we've had some good performances, but I think summed up by Manchester game perfectly really, where I thought we played okay. Performance generally was good, we created chances, we looked a good team, but we weren't ruthless enough and we didn't take the game away from our opponent. And then through a series of things we allowed them into the game, and certainly for next year we have to get that away form right.
And there was obviously the VAR came up again on in midweek. Premier League clubs obviously on a wider point are going to vote to abolish it on June 6th. I just wondered if you'd had any more time to ingest what happened on Wednesday and how that rose into your own thoughts about where we're at with it right now, your own personal opinion on it.
Yeah, I think I said after the game, my view's always been the same. I'm not a massive VAR fan. I certainly don't think it was used right again on Wednesday with Anthony Gordon's penalty. For me, that was a clear penalty. Very confused as to why that was so quickly ruled out and wasn't looked at properly. I like it for offsides because I think that there's almost some certainty with that decision, but I think for the rest of it, it's still someone's opinion, and I prefer that power to be with the player, the referee who's actually on the pitch.
Okay, last one from me, Eddie. At what point do you start to think about firming up your own plans for the summer in terms of transfers, comings and goings? Have you had that chance for any discussions with the club?
Well, we've had discussions all through the last few months. We're trying to finalise our plans, but I think going into this summer, I've said many times in this room, a lot of uncertainty over transfers in general, just with prices, how much activity there will be. And for us, we're like a lot of the clubs, I think there's a lot that could happen, but I think it's one of those things we just have to wait and see as the summer unfolds.
Thank you. Cheers, Eddie.
Andy. Morning, Eddie.
Morning.
Just away from the football, how relieved are you that this is the final time you have to sit down with us at 9 a.m. on a Friday morning?
Do you know, I'm going to miss it.
Are you?
Yeah, I'm going to miss it. Yeah, believe it or not, it's become part of my weekly routine, seeing you guys, and you've been so friendly during the year, so it's been good.
The poker face is definitely good. So many different reasons talked about. Naturally, we just mentioned about the away form. What, if you can you put it down to one singular reason, the away form this season, or not?
No, I don't think you can put it down to one thing. I think we've lost a bit of the absolute solidity we had last year. I think generally our performances, I don't think have changed too much, but the results have. And I think you just look at the numbers. I mean, we've conceded far too many goals on the road compared to the season before. So finding that solidity and that ruthlessness in our defending, I think is going to be the key for us. And we're going to do everything we can to come back a tighter team. Our goal scoring has been good. Our numbers have been very good, both home and away. Although saying that, I felt on Wednesday we left goals on the pitch. I think there was a lot of opportunities for us to be more clinical. So areas to improve in both aspects, but that's always the case, regardless of how well you do.
Regardless of that word permutations, whatever happens Sunday, what do you take away from the season overall, would you say?
Ooh, yeah, there's a lot's happened. I mean, it's been I think a really good season. I think we've enjoyed it. We're frustrated with it as well. I think we'll look back with a tinge of what could have been in lots of different aspects, whether you're talking the FA Cup, Carabao Cup, Champions League, Premier League. I think we've done okay. I think we've done well. But we could have been so different. I think it could have been even more memorable. And so that will be a frustration that will live with me. But you have to quickly leave it behind and look forward to next year and to next summer, because there's always another opportunity, and we have to learn the lessons, and there's been loads of them this year that we can improve as a football club, and that's what we're trying to do.
You said in a recent interview how sometimes your eldest son tends to give you a little bit of advice about the football and about tactics, etc. Any advice from him ahead of this massive game on Sunday or not?
Well, there was some advice after the Manchester United game, which I didn't appreciate on Thursday morning. But no, I don't think he's given me any big tips for the weekend. But we know what we've got to do. I think, these games are difficult, and we don't dismiss any team in the Premier League. We prepare accordingly. We'll prepare for Brentford. We'll hopefully get all the details right, and then it's up to us to deliver.
I suppose the case about the players know exactly what they need to do. You know exactly what you need to do. Is it one of those situations instantaneously before the players go out onto the pitch on Sunday where you don't need to say much as a manager?
I think it depends on my gut feel, really, in regarding how much I say. I mean, I say a lot in the preparation, a lot in the build-up, because you have to, for me, you have to coach the players, help the players, deliver everything that we need to perform well. Psychologically, in terms of motivation, we should need no words, if that's sort of the angle you're taking, because we're representing this amazing football club at a time where we know we need to win. So I think the objective's there for the players.
Just very, very final from me. You said recently as well, you know where you want this club to be, you know what this club needs to be. So where do you want this club to be in the short term, would you say? Well,
in the short term, if you're looking at next season, we want to improve. Yeah. There's been a lot, as I say, there's been a lot of good this season. We don't want to throw that away, but we want to build on it. And I think the foundations are there for us. I think the squad's in a healthy state in terms of its quality. As always, if we can add bits of more quality to it, we can make the team stronger. Then I think we're in an even better place.
Thanks, Eddie. Best luck Sunday.
Morning, Eddie. In terms of the season as a whole, how important a game is Sunday at Brentford?
Yeah, I think it will. I think it'll be important to end in the right way. I think the performances have improved towards the tail end of the season. I think we had a decent enough start, a difficult middle, and I think we've grown towards the end. Just generally, our performances have been a lot more consistent. So I think it'd be important to end in a good fashion, and if that does mean European qualification, then I think we can look back at a great season.
In terms of the positives out of Old Trafford that you can bring into Sunday's game, what are they?
Well, I think some of our attacking play was very good. I think when you go to Old Trafford and you end up with over 20 shots at goal, I think you've certainly done something right, and not just 20 shots at goal, but also loads of other moments that could have ended up with a lot more positive situations for us. So they're the positives. Obviously, the negatives at the other end, and we have to defend better.
Thanks, Chris.
Eddie, you talked about being frustrated after the performance the other night. Is the biggest frustration the fact that European qualification is kind of out of your hands almost?
Yeah, I think the last two games we've had the initiative. Well, before the last two games we had the initiative, and now we don't, and it's not in our hands anymore. But you have to deal with it. We can only control now our performance and our result against Brentford, and we have to do everything we can to do our part, because what you don't want to do is the other teams to make a mistake, and we're not there to capitalise on it.
With that in mind, will you be keeping across the scores as the game's going on?
No. And unless we'll obviously have someone doing that. I personally won't. I'll be across our game and making sure, giving everything to try and get the right result. But if, of course, there's a time where we need to manage the game in any way, I'll get that information to me.
There's been a lot of talk in the last few months about qualifying for Europe. So if you do miss out, if the results don't quite sort of fall, when you look back on the season, does that kind of mean it's been a failure to an extent? You
can bracket it any way you want to. I think, like I said earlier to the question, I think this has been a season where it could have been so much more. And yeah, those moments will frustrate me, sure, for a long time.
Okay, we'll go to writtens. If you can limit questions, we'll try and squeeze some Sundays in. Damien?
Eddie, just one. I think this time last season you said as a club you massively overachieved in finishing fourth. Is this season a more accurate representation, or are you somewhere in between?
I'd say it's probably more of an accurate representation, and there is a but. You have to consider the injury situation which we've had, which isn't an excuse, but it's been the reality. It's been very, very difficult to manage. The players that have been fit have given so much. They've contributed greatly to keeping our season stable and making sure we're still progressive, and I think it's been a positive season overall when you look at how well we've done in that regard, and then you think if you can add the pieces of the team back together and as a squad, near enough a healthy squad, I think we've got a great chance next year to build on this season.
Jordan?
Eddie, it feels like this is a sort of small frustrating period of a bigger picture, and just to throw in one of Keegan's old quotes of our ambition, he was saying the sky's the limit at this club. I mean, do you still sort of buy into that? I mean, going forward, the possibilities could be endless still.
Yeah, I think I've always got that mindset. I consider myself very positive about the future. I'll be saying that regardless of investment, wealth, all the things that you attach to that. For me, it's about the opportunity to manage this club and to take this club into an exciting era, hopefully. There's so many positives to be associated with the team and what we've given this year, what the future could be. But it's not plain sailing. It is very difficult as well to add context to it, because you can't, I think, get carried away with certain labels. I think it's about consistently trying to improve what you have, and that's what we're trying to do, and we'll continue to do.
Just a quick one on Callum Wilson. I mean, how much have you missed him in the last, over the season, these sort of games where he's missed? It's been a bit of a blow.
I think whenever he's not available, you sense a gap in sense of his personality and what he brings, his experience, but also just for us to be able to play with two strikers or to be able to rotate one striker puts a bigger burden on the other players. So yeah, we've certainly missed him.
Jordan.
Just one on Anthony going to see okay, you mentioned the other song as a result of that Amrabat challenge.
We'll wait and see. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure as I sit here now how he is. We'll see how he is today. But yeah, certainly that tackle left a mark on him.
And just one on Lewis Hall again. You spoke in midweek sort of openly about his struggles in the opening few months here. How much credit does he deserve for sticking at it behind the scenes and got his rewards at the end of the season?
I think for any player, look, when you come to a new club, especially someone so young, it's natural there's going to be a settling in period. There's going to be an adjustment, not just in terms of the training that we deliver, but in terms of his life and how he feels, how comfortable he feels. There's always a process to go through. You don't just land here and even Bruno, they didn't just land here and play straight away. He had to adjust, and people forget that. So I think he's done really well to commit and continue to commit and have consistency in his work, even when no doubt he was frustrated that things weren't happening for him quicker than he wanted. But I think that's the same for any player. I think he did really well at Old Trafford, showed a lot of maturity for someone so young, and I'm delighted with where his game's at the moment.
And has the performance criteria been triggered for him now to be playing the next season?
I think we can give you an update on that pretty soon.
Okay, we've got Chris, Craig and then Martin.
Morning, Eddie.
Morning.
You mentioned earlier about Brentford and the Ivan Toney situation as he'd been suspended, and you said you've been dealing with that as well. How different is it to have, obviously you get long-term injuries to players, but how different is it to be managing a player who has a long-term suspension, and what sort of effect does that have differently to a long-term injury?
I think no doubt it's different because he's there, he's available. You're training with him. I think it's more the effect it's had on everybody else. I think, of course, for the player, that's one thing. And we've tried to support Sandro and help him in his situation, get him the help that he needs, keep him active, keep him training, improve his game, develop his game. But the effect it's had on the group is we've missed an outstanding player. We've missed a player that could have helped us in the difficult moments. And I think that just the combination of those things has been very, very difficult.
And in terms of transfers, you've been linked heavily with a couple of free transfers for Tossen and Lloyd Kelly. Is anything close to being concluded in the transfer market?
No.
Okay, Greg.
Eddie, at Old Trafford on Wednesday night, you used the word mentality, and you go back last season, there was a ruthless efficiency about you. You were clinical, you were nasty even at times. Where's that gone, and how do you get it back?
I think that's always with the individual makeup of the players. I think we've been missing some big players this year that would have added that quality that you talk about. So I think it's in some of the players that have been missing. Highlighted really by Joelinton. I mean, Joelinton, when he plays for us, just brings a totally different dynamic to the group and to our team. And you could see when he came on, I was pleased with him. I think that's the best he's looked since his injury. He looked very much like his robust, agile self. So that was a big plus from the game for me. But certainly, we need to find those answers for next year away from home.
To that end, the game on Sunday, you've got to go there and win. Will you be looking to bring the likes of Joelinton, perhaps even Nick Cope, back in?
Yeah, possibly. All options are open to us. I think regarding those players, we've had to make the right decisions, not just for them, but for the team. There will be a next season for us, and what we didn't want to do is bring in a player, rush him back from injury, and then lose him again for six months. That would have been foolish. So we've tried to look after the players and introduce them when they're ready.
Martin.
Hi Eddie, on the away form of the regular Old Trafford, Roy Keane was on Sky on Wednesday and he said, sometimes it's a head job, maybe they're not as tough as they think. How would you respond to that?
I don't really know what that means. Go on.
I think he was questioning the mentality of the players, kind of going on what Craig said there. Are they the team strong enough this season, do you think?
I think what I just answered to Craig, I think would sum it up. We've lost some of the characteristics away from home that we need, but I think that lies in some of the players that we've been missing. And of course, if it's not there, we have to try and develop that. I think that comes in part with experience. I think certainly towards the end of the season, we've had a very young team, which is great in some senses. But also you can't put a price sometimes on experience, especially away from home when the game's in the balance. So certainly a lot for us to think about.
And have you been able to kind of put your finger on why the away form has been so different to the home form?
Well, yeah, I mean that's obviously the question, because at home we've been good consistently, really. I mean, of course we've had the odd blip here and there, but we've been free scoring. I still don't think we've been as good defensively as we want to be. So I think that's probably the main area.
And as part of the club's growth, does it need to be playing European football each season?
Yeah, of course, ideally, yeah, and that's what we focused on now for a number of months. We're very keen to try and build our experiences in Europe and not just be an isolated, inconsistent team in that respect. That's the next challenge for us.
Okay. Dominic and then Kieran, quickly, please.
Last game in the previous 2 seasons, you've gone into the final game without any real pressure, having got your job done beforehand. Is this a new challenge mentally for your players going into the final game?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a one-off game. It's a cup final for us, really. I think that's how we have to approach it. Now, the previous cup final we had, we didn't win. And I think that's how we have to prepare for this game. For me, it's a huge moment. That we can't control the other results. We can't control what will happen there, but we can do our part. And I think that's the big responsibility that we must embrace.
And the combination of Callum Wilson and Alexander Isak probably won your game at Brentford last season. How important will it be to have them fit and available for Sunday?
Yeah, they did. I mean, that was a tough first half for us last year. I think VAR played its part again, if my memory serves me right, and then it was a really strong second half performance from us. So, yeah, look, I need to wait and see what team I pick and try and make the right decisions tactically for the team.
Kieran and then Simon to finish.
Do you need even more warriors this summer?
Yeah, I think you have to be careful though. I think like with everything, it's a balance, because you could pick 11 warriors and then not have the quality that you need to win football matches. So certainly, that's sorry, distractions. Certainly, that's something I need to look at and reflect on. But I do think we've missed the qualities of certain individuals that would have helped us on the road.
And with your budget, do you think the deals they have with Adidas now can help you as well going into the summer?
Yeah, I think in isolation, maybe not just one deal, but yeah, I think that's what we need as a football club, is to grow our income. However we do that, whether that's sponsorship deals, whether that's other means. Certainly deals like that help, and it's great to be back with Adidas.
Simon?
Hi, just a question on the wider picture of the club. The Saudis, the PAF, have invested in a lot of other sports, golf, spending billions on their own league, and they've got the World Cup coming. Newcastle now seems quite a small but high-profile investment for them. In your talks with the bosses recently, with Yasser Al-Ramayan, who was here, do you still think they want to be number one, or are they still serious about really driving this club to the top?
I think they're very serious about it. I've seen no indication otherwise. I think the issue here is, in those sports you could possibly invest whatever you want. Here you certainly can't. And I think that's the talking point for everyone connected with football at the moment. So that's probably why you are asking the question.
Yeah. And how quickly can they drive the club forward within the current rules? And will they look to get them changed? And is the club moving quick enough for everybody involved?
I don't know if you can just change the rules on your own. I think everyone wants to grow the club quickly, but I don't necessarily think you can look at it in a sense that it's the race. The club will progress at the rate that it can within the rules. I understand these days everyone wants success yesterday, and my job is to sometimes control that and give a truer picture of what's happening at the football club. And yes, we're trying to grow it, but I think the players, staff here have done incredibly well in the time that I've been here, and our progress rate has been really quick, in my opinion. I think that everyone's done incredibly well. So I understand the demand for more, but sometimes you have to reflect and go, well, we've done okay so far.
But from the top, you have no doubt the ambition is totally.
The ambition's there,
right.
But the reality, the ambition might be there, but you have to work within the reality. And the reality is that we're not the number one club off the pitch yet in terms of income. We're not the number one club in lots of areas. So for us to get there takes a lot of hard work.